58 BCE, the lands of Gaul were restless, caught between fear and ambition. Julius Caesar, newly appointed governor, sought not only to defend Rome's allies but to carve his name into history. To the east, across the Rhine, stood Ariovistus, a Germanic king who had crossed into Gaul with tens of thousands of warriors. To the tribes he ruled, he was a brutal master, demanding hostages and tribute. To Rome, he was a threat that could not be ignored. Their confrontation would decide far more than territory. This was a collision of cultures, Roman discipline against Germanic fury. If Caesar failed, Rome's frontier might collapse. If Ariovistus fell, Caesar's legend would ignite. 2 men, 2 armies, 1 battlefield, where the fate of Europe hung in the balance. The spark of conflict came from the Gallic tribes themselves. Ariovistus had marched deep into Gaul years earlier, answering a tribal call for aid. But once inside, he seized power with ruthless efficiency. He forced entire clans to give up their children as hostages, demanded heavy tribute, and claimed fertile lands for his German followers. His army, hardened warriors from beyond the Rhine, numbered more than 70,000, with cavalry so fierce that few dared face them. The Gauls, desperate and divided, turned to Rome for salvation. For Julius Caesar, this plea was the perfect chance. Officially, he was defending Rome's allies. In truth, he saw opportunity. By confronting Ariovistus, he could win glory, secure Gaul, and strengthen his fragile political position in Rome. The stage was set for a confrontation neither side could avoid. Julius Caesar was no ordinary governor. Behind his calm command lay ambition as sharp as a gladius. He was deeply in debt. His political enemies circled in Rome, and only military triumph could secure his future. To Caesar, Gaul was not just a province to protect, but a battlefield where he could forge destiny. Ariovistus, in contrast, was a self-made king. Once a minor Germanic chieftain, he had clawed his way to power through violence and fear. His warriors worshipped him for his boldness, and his enemies despised him for his cruelty. Caesar saw him as dangerous but undisciplined, a man ruled by savagery. Ariovistus saw Caesar as arrogant, meddling, and weak in numbers. Between them lay not only armies but clashing visions, Rome's iron order versus the raw freedom of the Germanic tribes. 2 men destined to collide in a test of will. The armies that marched toward battle could not have been more different. Caesar commanded 6 legions, around 30,000 men drilled to perfection. Roman soldiers fought in disciplined ranks, shield to shield, their strength rooted in unity and iron discipline. Every maneuver, every strike of the gladius had been practiced countless times. Behind them marched engineers, scouts, and supply trains that kept the legions sharp and ready. Ariovistus brought overwhelming numbers, nearly 70,000 warriors, and a vast cavalry force. His men fought with raw ferocity, charging with spears and long swords. Their cries meant to terrify. They prized courage over order, and victory came from sheer momentum. To the Gauls watching, it was as though 2 worlds were about to collide. The cold machine of Rome against the untamed storm of Germania. Neither side intended to yield. The clash came near the Vosges mountains, where Caesar formed his legions on rising ground. Ariovistus struck first, hurling his cavalry at the Rhine flank, hoping to break Caesar's line before it could settle. The thunder of hooves shook the plain, and for a moment the disciplined legionaries wavered. Caesar had anticipated this. He had trained his men to fight in pairs, each soldier supporting the other, shields locked tight. The German cavalry crashed against a wall of iron, their furious charges slowed by Roman discipline. For hours the struggle raged, dust and cries filling the air. Caesar moved among his men, steadying the line, reminding them of Rome's honor. Slowly the tide began to turn. What had begun as a desperate defense grew into a measured push, as the legions advanced step by step, driving Ariovistus's warriors back. As the battle dragged on, the Germanic warriors launched wave after wave of furious attacks, hoping to break the Roman line. Yet Caesar's legions held firm, their shields battered but unbroken. Then came the decisive moment. The Roman right wing, led by Caesar's most trusted officers, surged forward in perfect formation. The German ranks, exhausted and pressed against the Rhine, began to falter. Panic spread when their chieftains fell, cut down in the melee. Ariovistus himself, once so confident, realized the day was lost. Abandoning his camp, he fled toward the Rhine with the remnants of his cavalry, barely escaping with his life. Many of his warriors drowned in the desperate retreat, trampled by their own comrades or swept away by the current. What had begun as a test of strength ended in disaster for Ariovistus and triumph for Caesar. The Battle of Vosges was more than a clash of armies. It was a clash of destinies. Caesar emerged victorious, Ariovistus defeated, and the stage was set for Rome's expansion into Gaul. But history always leaves room for questions. What if Ariovistus had won? How would Europe have changed if Rome's legions had faltered? One man's victory reshaped an entire continent, yet the consequences of ambition, strategy, and courage echo through time. If you found this battle as gripping as we did, imagine what came next in Caesar's campaigns. Comment below. Which moment do you think defined Caesar's genius? And what could Ariovistus have done differently? Don't forget to like and follow Clash Chronicles for more epic historical stories.